Welcome back to Smart Life. I'm Dr. Gina. My next guest needs no introduction. He is Stuart Scott, but you might know him as Mall Santa. He's been making a list and checking it twice for years now, and he's going to share the best moments in one of the coolest jobs I think you could ever have. What is his life like? I bet you've always wondered. He knew that, so he wrote a book about it called very simply, Diary of a Mall Santa. Welcome to Smart Life, Santa.
Thank you very much for having me, Dr. Gina.
And Merry Christmas to you. We can't have the show happen without making sure we say that.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you, too, and to your staff.
Thank you. Now, what inspired you to write this book? Was it just popular requests from people? Because I would think you have one of the coolest jobs ever.
Well, I've told people that I've never had so much fun at a job while getting paid at the same time. But this all started about 5 years ago when the general manager of a regional shopping mall near here called me and asked if I knew anybody who would like to play Santa that year. And I said I would love to take that job. And she said, I was hoping you would say that. So I asked about coaching. Would I get any instruction, any do's or don'ts? And the only thing she told me is keep both hands visible at all times. Don't promise anybody anything, and watch out for teenagers.
Ha! That was all your training that you got then.
The rest was on the job, I'm afraid.
Well, is it like other jobs, Santa, where you come to work and the first few days feel a little fidgety, like maybe and you just you finally relax into the role, and all of a sudden you just become that role. Is that kind of how it went, or were you just awesome right off the top?
Well, I don't know whether I was awesome, but my first guests were awesome, and it immediately kind of reinforced what this job is all about. And I felt very comfortable in it. I think the children felt comfortable with me as well. I think to take on a job like this, you have to love children, and that's no problem. Just like you, we have 5 children, and I learned a lot about parenting over the years, too.
Oh, that's interesting. So, but like any job, though, Santa, there are those trying moments. And I do love children, but I can't imagine. I mean, there are just some children that the parents just have no concept that the sun does not rise and set on that child at all times for all people, for all of mankind. And so were those some of the challenging moments where the parent was maybe too demanding, or what were some of the worst times?
Well, first of all, and I guess I should have known this before I took the job, but children between the ages of about 2, or about 1 rather, and 2.5, are terrified of Santa. I can practically guarantee it.
Oh.
If a 15-month child is coming to see me, can almost guarantee that child will be terrified, and I'm the source of the problem. I'm the guy that's causing this fear, and some parents understand that, and they'll just say to the child, that's okay, Patty, we'll just come back later. And some parents just march the child right up to me and not only demand that the child stop crying, but then ask for a perfect smile, too. I did learn on my own, I suppose, that if I can get the mother to put the child on my lap, facing away from me, and I softly sing the ABC song, they kind of get into it. And all of a sudden they calm down, and the mom might say, oh, Johnny, you know that song too. Why don't you just sing along with Santa?
Oh.
And that seems to work like a charm.
Oh.
Not always, but sometimes.
I love that. That is so sweet. I can tell that you really do just have that sort of instinct and intuition about children. That's very sweet. You must certainly have heard some really amazing stories over the years from these kids. You must have a story to tell about your experiences here. Tell me one of your favorites.
Well, hands down, my favorite was a little girl came to see me the first year, and she was 9 years old. Her name was Andrea. And she sat on my lap, and we started talking about all kinds of things, not just Christmas presents, but I just wanted to get acquainted and find out a little bit about her. And then when I asked her what she was thinking about for Christmas, what she wanted for Christmas, all she said was she wanted a house for her parents and a job for her daddy.
Oh.
She didn't ask for anything for herself. So I hugged her and I said, Andrea, I can tell there's a lot of love in your family. And it reminded me of the story of Miracle on 34th Street when Susan, the character played by Natalie Natalie Wood, asked for a home in the suburbs and a swing set in the backyard. And Kris Kringle was kind of stumped with that one. But I will say the following year when she came back to see me, I said, Andrea, do you remember what you asked for last year? And she said, yes. And I said, how's that working out? Well, they have a home, and her father's employed.
Oh.
So I do a lot of praying in this job, I should add.
Yeah, you just made me cry on television. So I bet the gifts that children have asked for have really evolved over the years. What kind of gifts are children asking for, and what's been the biggest surprise to you that a child has asked for?
Well, just every electronic game you can imagine, and because our children are all adults now, and we have plenty of grandchildren, but I have never heard of some of these electronic games, and they will just spit them out, and I'll have 5-year-olds asking for iPads and iPhones, and I'll say, now, do your friends have iPhones? And some of them will say yes. So very few sporting goods, not very few baseballs or baseball gloves or soccer balls, about 80% electronics. So
about
when they
80%
ask for something I don't know
now,
about,
yeah.
I just say, well, that sounds like a good idea.
That's a good way to combat that. Are there ever any gift requests you have to turn down, Santa?
Well, I guess I did receive some coaching on that issue, too. She said, don't promise anybody pets. No dogs, no cats.
Oh, yeah. So what do you say
up,
when they want a dog or a cat or a horse, as my kids always want to ask for?
I've had a request for a horse, too, and I will say, pets don't like to travel in my sleigh, and said sometimes they get sick when they're traveling around in my sleigh. But I will also say, have you talked to your mom or dad about this? And 9 times out of 10, they haven't. And so I suggest that maybe they should talk to their parents about a dog or a cat. I don't want to I don't want them to think they're going to get a kitten under the tree. I'm not going to promise it.
Exactly. What about parents? Do you have tips for parents on their way to take their child to see Santa?
Well, I guess the major thing is just to remember this is for the child. It's a magical experience. And maybe when you bring your child in to see Santa, do it early in the day, not at the end of the day when the child's exhausted.
Oh.
And also, with the younger children, because they'll be terrified when they're around 2 years old, don't force them. Just say, I will often say to the parent, if I can, why don't you take a 15-minute break and do some shopping, then come back, and I bet you your child will be ready to see me the next time.
Yeah.
So I guess that's probably the main thing. And also, I guess, I don't know whether you can demand and get a perfect smile from a child. It just doesn't happen. And I get a lot of that. And parents will offer bribes, and I'll give you French fries if you smile, and you name it. I've heard every bribe in the book.
Yeah.
And I will also say it never works.
Yeah. Well, that's good advice for parents. Where can people get your book?
It's available on Amazon. It is an ebook, so you'd have to get it through Kindle.
Okay.
And it is $2.99, and it's available right now.
Awesome.
And if you go onto Amazon and just do a search for Diary of a Mall Santa, the book will pop right up.
Thank you, Santa. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you, Dr. Gina, and thank you very much.
Absolutely. Santa tries, but times are tough. There are a lot of people out there unemployed during the holidays. But is it time to take a break from the job hunt? We're going to discuss that in the next segment. You stay tuned for more Smart Life right after this.